Hello, 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 everybody. Figured I'd let it ride a little bit today as we get into our show a little bit earlier than usual. We are on at 6 o'clock because, of course, our New York Knicks play tonight in game two of the Eastern Conference semifinals against Boston Celtics. That, of course, is at 7 o'clock on TNT, True TV, or Max if you have Max, the streaming service. I do. You have to watch a game on it though, but I'm sure it's fine. So you can check it out over there. I, of course, am one of your three hosts. I'm Eric. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all having a good Wednesday, a good hump day, a good day to watch some basketball, especially after a surprising game one performance from our New York Knicks. Very, very surprising performance. Um, Kind of went the way most of their games go. I think. I think if you watch the game, we're used to the Knicks kind of getting down by a lot and then having to come back to win games. I didn't think they'd be able to do that against a Celtics team like this. So I think what the biggest thing that game one probably did was put a little seed of doubt in Boston's mind about what this series is, because everybody else had the Celtics in either a sweep or in five. Now, five could still happen for sure. I would not be surprised if it did. But I think the Knicks showed in game one that they're not scared, that they are ready for the moment. They are ready to take on this vaunted Celtics team. And they're not going to go quietly. And I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of us had them kind of bowing out quietly, taking the win over the Pistons as a relief more than an accomplishment. At least I know I did. So, yeah, I feel like the Knicks now have announced that, hey, we're here. We're not afraid of you guys. We're going to compete, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. A lot of things happened in that game that were uncharacteristic. I'll say number one being the Celtics shooting 25% from three, going 15 from 60 from three-point land. First of all, I can't believe they took 63s. That's kind of one of the crazy parts for me, but that's what happened. So, that's the game. That's how they play. That's what they like to do. They like to shoot a lot of threes. And against the Knicks, let's be honest, it had been a successful thing for them. It's something that they had done and they had been doing, and it was a success. Every time they played the Knicks this year, they destroyed them from the three-point line. So I understand why they kept shooting. You always think as well that eventually they're going to go down, which of course is what I would think too if I was on the Celtics or their coaching staff. Would like keep shooting because eventually they're going to start going down, and that's not what happened on game one. So the Knicks benefited. The scary part is that no matter that the Celtics were missing threes, they still got up 20 points. I think that's the scariest part from that, is that no matter that the Knicks, that they weren't hitting the three-point shots, they still were able to get up 20 points. That's kind of an alarming thing for me. But to the Knicks' credit, they stuck with it. They did not let that deter them. They stayed in the game. They stayed the course. And it paid off for them in the end. So there are a few things we're going to have to discuss tonight. A couple of things we're going to get into in a little bit. Both the guys are a little bit late arriving to the show, so I figured I would just start and talk, and you guys can deal with me for a bit. And then when the guys come on, I'll bring them into what's happening and what we're talking about, and we'll get their takes on it as well. So I already started recapping game one a little bit. We could preview game two a little bit as well. One of the key factors from game one, at least I thought, was the fact that Kristaps Porzingis had an illness and he had to leave the game early. Let's be honest. He's a huge part of what they do, and he's been a huge reason why the Celtics have been so good against the Knicks, especially his ability to shoot threes. So without him in the lineup, they lost another option on offense, and that hurt them, in my opinion. They weren't able. The shots he normally takes were going to other guys who aren't as good. So I think that was a big loss in game one. Last I checked, he is set to go tonight. He's supposed to play in game two. So he should be available for Boston. And that's another thing the Knicks are going to have to contend with. So they're going to have to figure out a way now to make with him in the lineup again to play and, take away that advantage. So I think that's one of the big keys for this series and for this game. I mean, for the series overall, of course, it's a big key. But for this game, if Kristaps is back, that adds another layer to the defense, the defensive philosophy of the Knicks. And I think that's going to have to be something that they definitely contend with. I already talked about the 15 of 60 from three. That's probably not going to happen again. I can't see it happen. Boston clearly is going to come out tonight. They're going to be focused. They're going to be ready. They're going to be looking to probably jump on the Knicks early. So I think the Knicks are going to have to stay close early because I can't imagine the Celtics are not going to come out with trying to take the Knicks' heart very early. That's kind of what I would do if I was coaching them. I would get them prepared. I'm not a big believer in Joe Mazzulla. I think he's an okay coach, but I think he's very, very much an analytics guy, more than a lot of coaches in the NBA, although it's become much more of a part of the game, obviously. But I think he leans into it more. And when the analytics don't match up, he doesn't know how to adjust. So I think the Knicks game plan has to be stay close early, minimize the damage early, minimize whatever run they're going to throw at you. So they're going to want to get the crowd involved. They're going to want, again, like I said, establish that early. And I'm kind of hoping the Knicks guard against, okay, we got one here, so this one's not important. I don't think they'll be that way because the Knicks have a lot of championship pedigree on their team. Maybe not NBA championship, but you have the Villanova guys who won in college. So they have a lot of guys on their team who knows what it means to win, knows what it means, when you're when you do something, when you make an accomplishment in a game, to follow that up with another strong performance, just like the NCAA tournament, right? Like it's lose or go home, win or go home. So, you have to keep winning. I feel like they have that mentality, the Villanova guys. I'm expecting a more efficient game from Jalen Brunson this game. I'm expecting them to feature Towns a little bit more. Now, I know he got in foul trouble early in game one. He did start out very well. He had a very good first quarter, kind of kept them in the game. But I feel like for the Knicks to win this series eventually, he's going to have to be a bigger part of the game plan. Not just, a piece. He needs to be a featured piece. And a lot of people get on him, but, he's not demanding the ball. He's not. People say this about Patrick Ewing, too, when he had bad games. My response was always, these guys are not guards. It's the guard's responsibility to get the big men involved. It's especially the point guard's responsibility. So that falls on Jalen Brunson. Obviously, it falls on Cam Payne as well and Deuce McBride if he's playing a little point. But it definitely falls on each of them to make sure that Towns is part of the offense and he's involved more. Like I said, when he did get some touches early in the game, he looked good. He did exploit the mismatch. He did exploit the smaller guys defending him. I don't like, and I never will like, how much they have him on the perimeter. We saw that in the overtime period and in the fourth quarter. Like, he gets further and further away from the basket. I don't understand that, especially because the Knicks are not a big team, so they need his rebounding anyway. So I feel like that needs to be a major adjustment for them to going forward in the series. They got away with it in game one, but I don't think they will going forward. So I feel like the Knicks need to kind of lean into that more, feature Towns a little bit more in this series. I'm sorry, in this game. And we'll see what happens there. But I feel like that's kind of the edge they need to gain. Because if the Celtics are going to guard him with smaller guys, Let him punish them in the post. It's old school basketball thinking. I'm an older guy, so that's where my brain goes. I know the game is played differently now, but when you have a height mismatch and a size mismatch, you still need to try to exploit that. So I feel like we'll see a little bit more of that today. Um, the Celtics are struggling with a couple of things, not just Porzingis, but Jaylen Brown's knee. You kind of do notice that a little bit when he's playing. He doesn't seem to have the same explosion or lift. So I'm kind of wondering what they're gonna do there, how they're gonna go, how he's gonna play, and how effective he actually will be. I really don't know what he's gonna be bringing. Um, this series, I feel like he's kind of a wild card for Boston, but they have plenty of capable guys. Peyton Pritchard, 6 man of the year, Derek White, Drew Holiday can definitely score more if he's asked to score more. He's proven that in his career. So they have plenty of options going forward that they can bring in, that they could go to if Jaylen Brown isn't exactly 100%. So speaking of another option I can go to, Joe just arrived, so let me bring him in. Hello, sir. I have been talking my ear off for the last.
I'm sorry. I had an emergency come up the last minute at work.
Totally fine.
Hello,
Totally
hello.
fine. Hello. So yeah, I was kind of just recapping what we saw in game one, giving a little bit of my thoughts on what's going to happen in game two. So I'll leave the floor for you now. Any game one things you want to discuss, and anything you're looking for tonight, either from the Knicks or the Celtics?
They looked like a different team in the first game, especially on the defensive end. I like the way the ball moved. I like that lots of people are getting involved. I think it was an all-around good effort, and some of it was good defense on our part, and some of them was just not hitting threes. Overall, I was absolutely ecstatic and overjoyed that we took a game in Boston. Again, it's edge of your seat basketball. I've really enjoyed these playoffs so far. Every game seems like a dogfight. Every game has you on the edge of your seat. Fortunately, we've come out on top more often than we've not. But it seems like it's that cardiac ride that we're on. You know, every game comes down to the last couple of minutes, couple of plays here or there. You hope it goes your way. I've been really impressed with OG Anunoby in the last game in this series as well, in the previous series as well. Hart had a couple of really, really big plays in that first game. Sometimes I question what he contributes, and then I see plays like that, and I'm reminded how important he is to this team sometimes. Cat getting into foul trouble was a problem. Again, sometimes I'm a little surprised with how prolific an offensive player is, how defensible he is, with a single person often short of defending him at times. I'm expecting to see more Cat involvement today. I'm hoping they keep on spreading the ball around. I read a statistic recently that I think they're 8-0 recently in times where OG Anunoby takes 14 shots.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. I think a balanced offense is always the best offense. I think going through one player or two players too much, people figure out a way to stop you. I don't expect the Knicks to come away with a win tonight. I'll be shocked if they do. I'll be very happy if they do. But just taking one out of Boston to begin with is already beyond my expectations for the series. It'll be interesting to see if Porzingis plays. It'll be interesting to see how Boston comes out, considering the nagging injuries that they have. I think this is a team you want to play up tempo against, personally. But we'll see.
Yeah, I touched a little bit on the Porzingis thing. I also talked about Jaylen Brown's knee, who he doesn't look like he has the same explosion that he normally plays with. He's not a big athlete either, but he looks a little better than he looked in game one at least. So
Mhm.
they are dealing with a couple of things that could kind of, for lack of a better term, even the playing field.
Right.
I don't think, again, I'm not talking about starters. I think the Knicks starters can compete with anybody. It's
Right.
more the bench and the depth. If one guy gets hurt, well, then that means someone else steps up, and you know the bench gets weaker as you go down the list. If you have to keep playing guys more minutes, so I think I'm just talking from that perspective. Um, I did kind of mention, I agree with you. I think Towns needs to be more of a factor. I felt like he did start to exploit the matchups a little bit of the shorter guys, and then he got into the foul trouble and they had to take him out. But I do agree that for them to win this series, he has to play a bigger role, especially on
Right.
offense. Um, and yeah, I mean, I even made a banner for this one, but I've been super critical of them, and they delivered, man. They both of
Yeah.
them. OG was great in the third. He kind of got them back into the game. And then Bridges had a tremendous end of the fourth and then overtime. He was tremendous.
He really
So
was.
yeah. So I mean, this is what you kind of envisioned when they made these moves. You kind of envisioned, okay, these guys can step up and if Brunson, let's be honest, he was great in the fourth quarter, but he did not have a great game.
No.
Um, so, and we already spoke about Town. So when those things happen, they need guys to come in who can kind of lift them up, and both of them did that in game one. So if they get performances like that out of those two, even if it's just in spurts, they're feeling pretty good. Again, I don't think Boston is going to shoot 25% from three again. I
No.
don't see that happening. And to your point, yes, some of it was good defense, but a lot of them they just missed.
Yeah.
Uh, so that scares me a little bit. Uh, and I also said that I don't think the Knicks can go into this saying, okay, well, we got one. We got one in Boston. I feel like they need to play like, it's game 7 and they need another win. That's how I feel they need to approach it.
Do you feel like they're playing with more urgency? Because it seems like they're playing with more urgency. They seem like a different team to me.
I feel like whatever the Pistons series gave them kind of brought the urgency. Like, yeah, it kind of lifted the urgency up a little bit, the sense of urgency, because although I thought the Pistons were going to be formidable, and I think a lot of people did, I don't know if they necessarily felt that way. Especially with them not having Ivy, and then when Stewart went down, I think they might have said, okay, you know, we should win this series. And when Detroit kept punching back, I think that kind of woke them up a little bit. So I feel like we didn't. I mean, obviously the Knicks won Game 6 in Detroit after our last show, so we could even speak to that a little bit if we want to going forward. But yeah, I feel like these two guys, like I said, I've been so critical of them all year. I still like to see more from Bridges. Like you've said many times, he tends to float every once in a while and doesn't quite know where he needs to fit in. But if the Knicks can play this similar style, I agree with you. Maybe push the pace a little bit more. Um, I don't think it's gonna be the quick series a lot of people thought. I feel like,
No.
yeah, I don't think it's gonna, like, a lot of people. It's like a lot of people said gentlemen sweep. They said 5. I think I think that even that right now might be a little bit crazy to think. I think this is going 6, at the max.
Yeah. 5 is what I called originally,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. But like I said, it felt like they came out like a different team. And I want to talk a little bit about how they came out in the third quarter. Now, you famously and accurately have described the third quarter as the coach's quarter.
Yeah.
So, was this adjustments on the coaches' part, or was this just them hitting their speed at the right time?
I think it was a combination. I did see a little bit. Um, I did see them trying to push the pace a little more. That was
Yeah.
something I noticed. They seemed to be trying to push a little more in that third quarter. Now, to be honest, I was frustrated, so I did flip off a little bit in the third quarter. I wasn't watching the whole third, but I
I
came back in.
I thought about turning off the game and going to sleep because I was tired. I'm glad I stuck it out, though.
Yeah, so I'll be honest about that part. Like, I did miss some of the earlier parts, but when I was watching on, I was keeping track on my phone just to see what the score was, and I think when they got it down to 11, I kind of jumped back in and said, "Okay,
Mhm.
I'll watch from this point on." So yeah, and I did see like it's obviously OG was fantastic in the third. He really kind of was the reason why they got back into the game, in my opinion. So it was
He's
a
been
little bit of that as
consistent.
well. Yeah.
He's been
Yeah, but
consistent.
you have to give the coach a little bit of credit.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
even if it was just a mental thing he did, like even if he just gave a really impassioned speech like, "Yo, we can do," even if it was something like that that we didn't have access to, but we something like that he did. He did something because they did look a little bit more energized. They did look a little bit more, like I said, they were pushing the pace a little bit. Um, so yeah, so I do think he deserves a little bit of credit for what happened in the third.
From an offensive standpoint, I like the way the offense looked compared to especially to the Detroit series where we started seeing Julius Jr. down, kind of pounding the ball into the paint, dribbling 87 times before taking a shot. Don't get me wrong, I love the guy, but that's what I saw at times. Um, the offense seemed lucid. They moved the ball a lot better than I've seen them do in a while. Yes, they did hit some shots, but it just seemed they just looked like a team that could win. You know what I mean? In that game. And that was really, really encouraging. I mean, the second quarter, obviously not, but I found this win to be very encouraging, to tell you the truth.
I think you have to look at it that way just because of how much the Celtics beat up on them outside of that last game in the
Mhm.
regular season, but how
Close.
much how much the Celtics beat up on them earlier on, and maybe that last game the Knicks did figure something out, and maybe that's why we saw what we saw in game one. Now they did get down 20 points, so
Yeah.
so it wasn't a perfect game by any stretch,
No, no,
but
definitely not.
they won. I said this before, and I said this in the chat. They won like they've been winning all year, in my opinion. They tend to they play well in the first. They did get down 20 points in the third. That's when the 20-point deficit actually happened. And then they kind of realize like, oh crap, we need to start playing. And then they play well, and then they'll win a close game, which is exactly what happened.
Hmm.
So I feel like the formula was there. The only thing that gives me pause is, like I said, I don't think Boston's going to shoot that badly again.
No. Mm-mm.
So if that starts to happen, how do they respond? And that's kind of what I want to see. So leads into my next banner here, game two adjustments. Um, so what do you think are the key adjustments from bad things you saw in game one that you'd like to see in game two?
Well, free throw shooting, you hope is going to be better. And that's
Yeah,
not just a Mitch thing.
no,
Um, there were a lot of turnovers in the second quarter that were very distressing. There were times that they were just getting back on D and not attempting to offensive rebound. And Boston was just running on them the entire time and killing them on the offensive glass. Um, I still want to see them as not so much a myopic offense going through Brunson or Towns necessarily. They do have to get Towns more involved, but I like it when the Wings eat. I think they play better when they eat. It's hard to have. It's seemingly hard to have both of them have good nights on the same night. It's usually like a role reversal kind of thing. OG will
yeah,
have a good night, or when one's on, the other's not. Bridges contributed, but not in an offensive way. It was really defense and grit. Um, so I think that the important thing is right now is that they got over that hump and they beat that team.
yeah,
And
I
there's a
agree.
belief that they can win. They have to carry that over. And I feel like even if it's a loss, if it's a close loss, they're going to go back with some really good momentum for MSG. If they win here, I can't imagine what the Garden's going to be like if they come back in game three ahead 2-0 on this team. But it might be a wounded deer kind of thing, man. Some of those guys have hamstring problems and knee problems and things like that. Tatum has a wrist. I mean, that's going to affect his stroke. He was like 7 for 23 I think,
Yeah.
for the
I
field.
mean, they've also played a lot of basketball, obviously,
Yeah. Yeah.
over the last year and a half or so. So, yeah.
But they did have a lot of they did have a longer rest also
They
after
did.
Orlando, which can help and hurt you at times. It depends. Um, yeah, I just want to see a well-rounded offense. Um, we had a Precious Achua sighting, which was nice. Even if it was just they didn't want them to keep fouling Mitch.
Yeah.
Um, I think having another big come off the bench is a good thing. Um, we've been calling for the bench really for a long time, but we're not all inexperienced players on there. There are players with a lot of experience that can come in and help and everything like that. I think pushing the pace on this team is a good idea, and to push a pace effectively and to be effective at it, you have to give your guys blow. You have to have people come in and give them a rest periodically. Um, I think that they're going to be vulnerable to pushing the pace right now. But, obviously KP isn't 100%. He's dealt with that upper respiratory issue or whatever's going on with him. Make him run. Make
Yeah.
Drew Holiday run on that hamstring, that kind of thing. So to do that effectively, we may have to depend on the bench a little bit more. And I know that that's kind of something we've been saying, hasn't been heard, but it would be a good strategic move were we to have a strategic coach.
I agree with everything you said. But Ty has arrived. The traffic jam or whatever is over. And he has arrived. So we've been getting into it, obviously. I talked a ton for like the first 10 minutes, so my voice may be a little I was waiting for Joe to get here, so my voice might be a little scratchy. But
what's up? What's up?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you could jump right in, man. What did you think of game one? What do you see happening in game two? What adjustments do you think they need to make from game one to game two? Go ahead. The floor is yours.
So game one, it was funny because we went out for a little dinner with the family, and my brother's a Knicks fan too. So we were in a diner, and someone was, the minute you see the logo, everybody who's a Knicks fan, they come out nowadays, and they're like, it vent their frustration. It's sort of like a bonding moment when you see somebody with a New York Knicks deal.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was in there, and the lady who actually runs the diner, she's one of the owners, she goes, "Hell of a game the other night, right?" I was talking about the Detroit game, and I said, "Yeah." I said, you know what? We do the Brunson thing all the time now. So the Brunson thing. And so I was like, I looked at her like this, and she started laughing. She's like, I said, "You know what? They may win game one." I said, "I think they might." And she looked at me, I guess thinking I was probably had some drinks or something. I was like, it's a chance, because when you look at the series with the Knicks, obviously they're coming in, they come off a great series against Detroit, well tested, and Boston was home relaxing. They're not going to be in tune. This is the perfect time if you're going to steal a game. Game one is the game you steal. So lo and behold, we saw exactly that kind of pan out. The Boston Celtics did what they normally do with the Knicks, which is jump all over them after a while, and they went up with a huge lead, and everybody probably flipped their TV off and was like, well, here we go again. This is the same old story, same old again. And needless to say, we move forward, and you like watching Boston. And I didn't know it was that many three-point shot attempts, but I know there was quite a few going up. And they were just like chained, I'm like, well, damn, they're just launching shots. But, those long caroms, after a while, I always think, I know that they say with the analytics that the three-point shot is a great shot. And I don't think it's a great shot. I think it's a nice weapon to have. But for me, underneath the basket, transition, basketball, those things always, to me, no matter what nerd wants to tell me, those are high quality shots. They've always been. The percentage says that they're 45 to 50%, some 60 to 70% if you have a Mitchell Robinson in the game or Rudy Gobert, where you're lobbing those balls. Those are short twos. 70% of anything is better than 30% of something else. So when you start looking at that, they're doing those long caroms. That plays into the Knicks' hand because they need to play a lot faster. The half court is kind of like the thing that is not good for the Knicks. And you just started watching a scrappy team. You watch the Knicks all of a sudden just keep chipping away. Confidence start building, and then you turn around and you're in a dogfight. And I don't think you want to be in a dogfight with the Knicks. You want to annihilate them and get them frustrated, shooting, not being able to guard the three ball. That's literally what it seemed has undone us as a team all year long. You start hitting those threes, and the Knicks really look to the bench for answers, which we know they're not going to get an answer from there. So, you just hope that they're able to adjust. But the minute you started seeing that little dude, that he is him, Brunson starts getting activated in those last 4 to 5 minutes of a game. He earned the award for a reason. And to be very honest with anybody, being a Knicks fan, probably the only reason I'm still really a Knicks fan, I'm going to always bleed it, but I'm talking about like following him like we do. It's because of Jalen. I never feel like we can't win a game with Jalen Brunson. And I can't recall ever saying that about a Knick. I just can't. I mean, I've watched a lot of Knick basketball, and I've always sat with a pretty uneasy stomach wondering when the bottom's going to fall out, or if we have that clutch player that we can count on in the end that's, going to be what we've fell victim to a lot of times, whether it's the Reggie Millers or the Michael Jordans or the LeBron James, whoever come into the Garden. They usually have the last say in the game, and we don't have any, retort or able to fight or withstand that, or have that guy, the other guy on the other end is like, oh, watch this, I got it. No, don't worry, we're cool. I'm going to take the last shot for us, and we're going to send them packing. So the minute you give Jalen, and he's coming off a great series, obviously one of the most epic shots in playoff history that I've seen. I likened it to Michael Jordan when I saw it. When Michael Jordan in Utah, he was just not in the finals. But when you look at the totality of the moment, how it was done, Byron Russell didn't skate as much as Sir Thomas did. He was enjoying the whole ice capades on that last play.
Like, still looking for your sneakers.
Yeah, you lost him out of camera range, which I'm like, well, damn. That was a skirt. That was a skirt mode. You got a skirt. That was just like
him. Yep.
He got him, and it was like I wanted to see. They never pan to see the reaction. I wish they had a bigger pan to see the reaction of the fans, because when you watch the Jordan shot, you can see the fans go, oh, like this. I just wanted to know what the collective breath was as a Detroit Pistons fan when watching that, when he went all the way out of camera range, and then like there had to be an hit moment. Like, hit, this is not going to end good. And as soon as I saw him skate, I'm like, that's gone. I was like, he's done, because I couldn't see Brunson missing that shot because
it was.
You know what I bet the fans look like? Did you ever see Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger? When he falls out the hatch and he's got like no atmosphere and no oxygen. He starts doing the Arnold sounds and his eyes start bugging out. It's like that.
That's a great analogy. That's exactly it.
Yeah. I mean, Brunson obviously is a very tactical player, right? So he set that shot up 2 or 3 shots before.
Yep.
Like he knew he was going to lean and play him that way because he's lefty. Yep. He's a left-handed guy. So yeah.
Oh, you're right. They always talk about
that, but I bet you're right.
The former players always say he's gathering data as he plays. So he's figuring out things and figuring them out and where he's going to get to his spots. And they had played him on the left very well for the longest thing, and he set him up like veterans.
He did. He set him up.
Set him up. It's an awesome thing to think about a player.
Did you see the move he did too? He did the move, like if you look, if you closely watch it, because I've probably watched that play I don't know how many times because I have no life, as I always say. And he grabs his arm a little bit as if he's saying, okay, I'm going to try to blow past you left. So he sold it on so many ways that he was going left. And then, the phantom screen from Bridges coming around, which I sort of didn't really bite on that much. But you can see that Brunson grabs him a little bit by the arm, and then he takes off. And then it's like, I mean, who wouldn't think he's going left? That's usually your dominant hammer left-hander. You probably are going that way. But shout out to Brunson, man. That was a great shot.
That was. Yeah, and we touched on this a little bit before, and I actually just messaged you guys. He had a weird game. Like he didn't have a great game on game one,
No.
but until the fourth quarter where he hit those big shots, and then he misses the bunny, like the game-winning shot that everyone thought was probably going in at that point.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if Thibodeau drew that up, but if he did, congratulations, because that was a beautifully executed play.
His best drawn-up play ever in New York.
Yes, like that was credit to Towns for making the pass. Like everything worked perfectly on that play except for the shot.
Yeah.
So I mean, getting that game, like I said, I've been saying, getting that game, and I even said this before. I said that, like you said before, Ty, like that's the game you want to get. You want to get the first game when you're on the road in the best of 7. So I said this before you came on, Ty, like they should not go into this thinking, okay, we got one, like let's just
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Right?
Greedy.
Like
be damn greedy. Treat this like a game 7. I mean, I just think that the Knicks can never afford to not treat every game against Boston like it's a game 7. They need to leave it all out there every game and then pray that once you get home, you are protecting home court as if your life depended on it. Because I think that when looking at Boston, we can pick apart. We've heard a lot of people say the Knicks got lucky. Everybody said, oh, it was more Boston than it was New York. I don't buy that. You rolled out the ball. You played the way you played. You could have. You had the Knicks up by 20. You could have easily kept pouring it on. It was your philosophy and mentality that lost that game. So
and defense had something to do with it too.
What's that you said?
And defense had something to do with it too.
Yeah, because you got to credit the Knicks. I mean, they got at it. I mean, we saw the ending play was a defensive play. I mean, we can obviously dissect Mikal Bridges and the trade and the assets, and waiting for his Knick moment. Well, he had several of them in that game. He had his Knick arrival moment. And, now you're starting to see, what we paid for. This is, well, not us technically. Well, I guess we do as fans. We merchandise and all that stuff. So, yeah, we paid for it. We put a little down payment on it, a little layaway plan. But you're starting to see them come through. OG's just been different. But we're going to talk WingStop. There you go.
No, like I had this up before. Go ahead, Joe.
I love that thing you posted in the private chat after the game. The picture of Mikal Bridges with the F them picks.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. It's so timely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, you got to.
Yeah.
He's.
Yeah, we talked.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit before. But yeah, game 1 is a game they do not win without both of those guys. OG's offense was fantastic. He was 6 from 11 or 6 for 10 from 3, something like that. 6 for 11, I was right. And he kept them in and was a huge part of the comeback in the third. Like he was the guy that was hitting the shots and scoring. And then everyone has talked about Bridges in the end of the fourth and then into overtime where he was just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, 2 huge steals. Obviously, the huge steal to seal the game, to win the game. The steal before that he had where he fed it to Hart and then Hart fed it to Anunoby for the dunk. Like there was so many key moments defensively that they had. And this is kind of what we talked about when they made these moves, right? Like you have these 2 guys now who are supposed to be tremendous wing defenders. And they got these 2 guys, I don't care what anyone says, to go against Tatum and Brown.
Yeah.
Well, here we are.
Absolutely.
This is where we're at.
Yeah.
So they delivered in game 1. They were fantastic. I have nothing bad to say. I wish Bridges would hit more shots, but whatever. That's fine. I will take the defense and that kind of defense every night. If he plays that kind of defense every night, I will take it every single night. They were just fantastic.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that to me is what they were all about. Joe and I talk about the Dobermans all the time. The dogs was out, and that's exactly what we need from them. I always look at it. This is Brunson and Cat. Those are the mega scores. And usually it's going to be Brunson probably doing the clutch scoring. It is. I mean, he's delivered. Why wouldn't you not want him doing it? You just hope that he can involve Towns in some more of the actions because he's one of the greatest decoys also. If Karl-Anthony Towns is somebody you got to worry about as a decoy, then Brunson can eat all he wants at that point.
Right, you got to worry about him on every level. So yes.
Yep. So to me, that if there's one knock about the team is that should be utilized a lot more. But as far as with the wings, the wing stops or whatever you want to call them, that's what those guys needed to do for the Knicks. And as far as I was concerned, when they were brought in, you're getting bonus gravy on the side with OG scoring the way he is. But I've always thought these guys are here to be high-level 3D players. That's all that you should need when you got two mega scorers like those guys. But, now you got OG thinking that, he's OG. Well, I can't even say Scottie Pippen. Who's he? Is he Kawhi Leonard now? I mean, the guy's scoring 29 points. He's like all over the place. It's like you're waiting to say, I didn't see this player. I don't know if anyone else saw the player. I didn't see this guy.
No, I always liked him, but I didn't see this. I didn't know he could do some of the things he's doing on offense effectively.
Yeah, I mean, in the playoffs, he's averaging 19. He's shooting 44%, 40 from 3, about 5 rebounds, and obviously his always fantastic 2.3 steals. So that's the big one, right? Like,
but
you see something like that.
The stat I want to know is how many times mysteriously is he fallen down in the playoffs?
It's been a little better.
I know. I've noticed that too. That's why I'm bringing it up. He's not falling down. He's hitting the shots.
It's like he bought a new, like his first core was from Temu. Then he's like, nah, I'm going to Amazon, get me a new core. And they got a real good sale on cores because when we know he went down, he had the Temu package. It was not what we see now.
Well, he popped a Dramamine patch behind his ear or something to help with that equilibrium.
Because it's like he's a whole different, like they swap bodies. When he went down from that ankle or foot issue, whatever the heck it was, that dude was left in the locker room. The other guy that came out is like, well, did he have a twin?
He bought one of those ab belts, probably. Those electric belts. That's what it was. He bought one of those. That was so all good.
Yeah, I love what I see out of him. When he's playing like this, he's a very imposing third option.
Sure.
I mean, really, really, really an opposing third option.
Yeah, I mean, one of them had to be this guy, right? It was one of those two that had to be this guy, and he's the one who, stepped up and he's the guy. So, it's just been awesome to watch because they've been really good defensively the whole playoffs. This hasn't just been offenses come and gone, and there's times I'm like, Bridges, what the hell are you doing? Even the 3 he hit from the corner hit off the backboard. Like it hit all the way in. It wasn't so. I'm like, even the shot he made was a big shot. He got like the gods were with him. I said it in a tweet. I said the basketball gods were with him from about midway in the fourth through the end of the game on game 1.
Is that not like a Kawhi Leonard shot in the sense? Not that it,
of course,
but that one shot and it bounced on a.
You mean the Raptors in the finals?
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought that shot would have bounced the way it did? Bridges could never go do that shot again. That's never going to be
done. That is something that happens by chance. I've made shots like that before. I think a lot of people who play ball have. But that is not something you practice. That is just what happens.
My high school coach would take a look, see that shot go down, and he'd be like, "You're never hitting that one again."
You never hit that one again. That one was pure luck.
And
all right, so we talked to.
I was going to say shout out to Mikal because he's been beat up a little bit.
Oh yeah, he totally has by me more than anyone. So I will, and I even said this before. Both of them, right now, we're good. We're good. We're good right now. Can't promise it's going to be forever, but right now we're good.
Mm-hmm.
So I put this up because we finally got a Deuce McBride sighting in game 1. He had a very, very good game. He has been garbage all playoffs, and the coach. To Thibodeau's credit, I will give him this. He's one guy that it doesn't matter how bad he's playing, he gets to get his minutes. So he sticks with him. That helps with the confidence. But he was 4 for 8 from the field. He shot 3 for 6 from 3. Gave them excellent minutes. He was definitely what they needed. They needed more bench scoring. He gave them that. So yes, welcome to the playoffs, Deuce. We need more. We're gonna need more of it. So I hope this was the start of things to come. But we need more from him. And of course, Mitch Robinson had the funniest stat because he took 0 shots from the field but he had 10 free throws.
Wow, that is kind of crazy when you think about that.
Right? Crazy.
Right.
Yeah. So when you see those things, a bunch of weird stats from this game, because the eye test would have told you Towns didn't have a really good game,
Mhm.
but he was
15.
+8. He was second on the team in plus minus behind Robinson. Robinson was +13. Towns was +8. So again, sometimes stats lie,
Yeah.
but sometimes our eyes lie as well. Like sometimes our eyes are seeing things. We see the bad, but we don't realize what they're doing. So it's just a couple of weird stats I wanted to bring up and throw out there that I saw, and I thought was weird because I was like I told Joe before, and I told you guys on game one when they got down. I'm like, I'm gonna step away for a bit. So I did. I wasn't watching the game for a little while. I was tracking on my phone, and I was scrolling through Twitter or X to see what was going on. And man, people were killing him. They were killing Towns. They were killing Precious when Precious got in the game. Like they started killing Precious as well. So I was like, oh God, it's getting worse. And then I thought they were down 20, and I'm like, oh, this is not gonna go well. Um, but no, I mean, like I said, sometimes stats can affirm or confirm what your eyes are seeing, and sometimes they can tell you that hey, what you thought was going on really wasn't as bad as you thought. So
No, Towns has rebounded the ball very, very well, and he's also looked actually more competent defensively.
I'll
He's
give him
better
this. Yeah,
defensively, I believe.
yeah, I'll say this: when he's alone, one on one, he's actually pretty okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, he's done a good job in the one-on-one matchups. Is when you get him in the actions, certain defensive actions or pick and roll situations.
That's where those
I think
fouls start coming up.
Yeah, that's kind of where he struggles a little bit. I think part of it, and I will again, I still don't think he's 100%, not even close. So I think
Mhm.
part of it is a what's the word I'm looking for? An agility thing right now. I don't think he's at full, his
Yeah.
ability there to move. I don't think it's fully there. So I think with a guy like him, that hurts.
Mhm.
He doesn't have the super long arms like Mitch. Mitch doesn't have to be super great side to side because his arms are so long. He can just kind of, put his arms out. So I feel like those kinds of things. But I agree with you, Joe. He looks a little bit more in tune, I guess, with what they're trying to do.
Capable.
And
Yeah.
and he's not running drop coverage as much. He's showing
Right.
up a little bit ahead. Because when you leave him in drop
That's a
coverage,
really good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
you might as well just give the other team 50 points if you're going to give him the drop coverage because he cannot. He's Omari, as I always say, he can't see the action when it's coming. Definitely at the rim, so he's not going to meet you at the rim well. But if he can hedge a lot closer out of the box and hedge up on the guy, you're going to force him to that person to have to pass one way or another. The only way you can get really beat is on the back cut if somebody's not seeing the ball, seeing the man, as Scott says. That's the only way that you can really punish him doing that. But he is moving. Shout out to Tibbs. He moved him up a little bit, made a couple of adjustments in that area too. So to give him credit for that.
Speaking about Towns, I was mentioning earlier, Ty, before you came on, that it's strange considering how prolific of an offensive player is, how difficult he's finding it to get his shot off against smaller defenders. One of the things I think may help, and I was just thinking about this during the show, is obviously you want to push the pace on this team. You want to run the fast break on this team. Have him strategically trail the fast break to kind of get that open three at the end. I think a couple of those. There's nothing more backbreaking on a three as trailing on the fast break.
Mm-hmm.
You usually get an open look, hit that, get back on D. They really have to find ways to get him the ball because I think people have been roughing him up. They've had a hard time kind of getting the shots that he wants. He hasn't been getting some of the calls that he wants as well, but they have to find a way to get him involved offensively. I mean, he's such a plus offensive player, and it's been strange not seeing him be able to get his shots.
Someone posed a question. I was watching another podcast, I think it was, or whatever, and they asked the question, "What is Towns' spot?" And I thought that was a very interesting question because he is very talented on all aspects of the floor. But what is his spot? Like, what would be the ideal spot? I know where I would start him. But I'm saying
shooting the three from straight on, not
yeah.
from either side, straight on for the three.
So if you were Brunson, say you're Brunson, you're in the half court, how would you defer? I know we can do pick and roll. I'm not talking about that aspect, not in the action. I'm saying if you say I'm dumping the ball to Karl Anthony Towns, where do you think it would be ideal to dump it? Because he loves operating on the perimeter. He wants to play more like a wing. You know, he does do the top of the key 3-point shot. Where would you say that for a guy like Brunson saying, oh, well, we got to get him involved? Where would be the ideal spot that you believe that, or do you think Karl Anthony Towns works the best at? For me, it's the post. I think you've got to start that mid-post area. But he doesn't always catch it there. No. It seems like he's a wing. Like he wants to be on the wing more than anything. I mean, is that ideal, or where would you start?
I don't know. I think the top of the key. I don't. He's getting mauled down there. He's not getting the calls. If he were getting the calls and effectively posting, then yeah, put him in the post. It's not working out for him.
The change to the league rules years ago switched how you can feed a guy in the post, right? There's you used to be able to create space so you'd have a clear lane and a guy could catch. But now that a guy can sag a little bit and kind of double team the post, you can't really make those same type passes anymore. Yep. So I see it with a lot of bigs, not just Towns. I see it with a lot of bigs that they're catching the ball, tied to your point, more mid post to the perimeter. And that's also why guys that size now are working on those parts of the game where they need to be able to put the ball down because it's something that they have to do. He's a 3-level scorer to me. You could put him anywhere, and I think he can get where he needs to go and score. I do think we've seen guys in the past, smaller guys, they have leverage on big guys sometimes, so they're able to kind of nudge them out. You can't create that space. So I feel like that's something that these guys, and let's be honest, for whatever reason, I think he gets called for a ridiculous amount of offensive fouls that are not offensive fouls.
Yeah.
But he has the reputation, so he gets called for them. So that's probably in his head too. Like, if I do this again, they're going to call me for another foul.
Yeah.
So I've always maintained this when you have a dominant big man, an offensive big man, it's the guard's responsibility to get him involved. I don't care how you do it. It's their responsibility to get him involved and get him the ball. So, Ty, to your point with Brunson, I always thought, I don't know why they don't run it more, the pick and pop with those two, because both of them can shoot. So why would you not run plays like that? It worked with Amari and freaking Chris Duhon. It's not going to work with these two guys? Like,
it kills me because the times that we saw the pick and roll, it was Brunson and Josh. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what? And I know Brunson's not goofy. He's one of the smartest players clearly in the league. I just don't know this is when we go back to calling from the calls from the bench. It's like, I would tell you guys watch Friday, the guy Pinky and Games, say it again. This is what I would be doing if I was telling people, throw that ball to Josh once again on that pick and roll. I dare you. That's how I would be dealing with that. It's like your job, because you saw the action on almost that won the game in regulation. It was a 2-man game between Brunson and Towns because that's the deadliest combination right now, currently in the NBA playoffs. That would be a nightmare. Nobody wants to see those two guys in action playing off of one another. You're not going to win that matchup. Somebody's going to get torched. So when you see that aspect, it's like you still find Josh Hart and Brunson in a pick and roll. And it's like Josh is not shooting.
It's the coach, because where does he have Towns? He has him at the 3-point line, right? So that's a drawn-up play. That's where he wants him. And yes, he's a good shooter, so I understand that part.
And he could also take, when he's covered by a center, he could take people off the dribble, and there's a lot of room to work with.
Right. But is that the best use of his talents? That's the only question I have. Is that really the best use of his talents? Especially when they have a smaller guy guarding him. Like, I don't understand that part of it. But that it just appears how it's going to be. I don't think that's changing anytime soon. So we can hope for it and wish for it and be like, let's see it, more of it. But it is weird. A couple of times we do see it. It usually does work, right? It's usually pretty effective.
Yeah.
So to tie to your point, they should go to it again. Like go to it until they stop it, right? That's what they say. Go to it
Right.
until they stop it.
Especially when you're closing out games. Like we saw Brunson needing the action. He's trying to get his shot. If Karl-Anthony Towns is in that pick and roll,
You can't leave him.
you're going home. The other team's going home because he can pop out and hit the three. He can roll to the basket and finish. Brunson, we clearly know he can go downhill, uphill, backhill. He can do it. Both of those guys are 3-level scorers. What are you? At the end of the game, you go there. You dare another team try and stop it, and I'm going to guarantee you they're not stopping it.
We're old, Ty. That's all I could say is we're old. We have an old school mentality of how the game should be played.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to finish with this story because it came out, and it might be a little bit premature to talk about it, but the news came out this week, damn it, so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
So news came out that Jan, after they lost, obviously people were questioning his future, and a little story came out that he wants LA and New York was mentioned. So blanket question, would you do it? And I guess I'll add to this, who's going in that package? Who are you trading?
It's probably going to be Towns, right?
Well, you would think, especially to make it work salary-wise, but would you do it?
I'm not a fan of breaking up the core, but you have to consider it when you're talking about this kind of talent. It would depend again, this is always what we say, so it's kind of a cop-out, but it would depend on what was involved with that. Again, if we're putting up multiple impact players, that becomes really problematic because we are really top-heavy in our rotation. So that creates even more holes in a sinking ship. It would have to be something that makes sense. But again, if Milwaukee does trade him, it's with the idea of a full-on rebuild. Now, he can want New York, but that doesn't mean scratch for a team that's looking to rebuild because we ain't got nothing right now that would help them on a rebuild. We would have to give them over pieces that would keep them competitive without solving their main problem, which is we have no assets. We have nothing to build the house with again. So I really think that the team that really will probably be the one that makes the deal for Giannis is Houston. I think that makes a lot of sense personally. Because again, he can want New York, he could want LA, but again, they could do exactly what Portland wanted to do with Dame. What they did with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard wanted to go to Miami. Sorry, that doesn't work with us. We don't like what they have. Let's roll on to something else.
Ty, would you do it?
So hard. Thought because there's one thing about Giannis that bothers me. Then there's the other things that don't bother me at all about him. It's really the free throws. We're nitpicking about the one thing that I think is crucial because we're seeing it with Mitch. You can foul and take him completely out of the game. So we can say that. Then we switch to the other gear. What does he bring to the table?
Everything.
He brings this ridiculous motor that if it's activated and the competitiveness, he would run through the Statue of Liberty to score a basket. Who wouldn't love that in New York?
Sure.
Who wouldn't love a guy? You got a 7-foot Russell Westbrook, who's a nicer guy, seemingly, but a guy who plays with the kind of edge that you can't doubt whether he's competing. He would go all out to do whatever it is to win the game. He would be playing with somebody who's just as tough. Brunson's just as tough. The question I always have with Karl-Anthony Towns, and he's disproved a lot of it this season, is the toughness. Now, Eric brings up a term a little while ago. He said sometimes stuff feels manufactured. So this is with Karl. If there's one question I'm asking of him still is, how much is this of you and how much is this manufactured? because when I'm watching him in certain games, he drifts. He drifts a little bit. There's games where and granted, Brunson may not be getting him the ball, but there's sometimes I'm watching him and I'm like, dang, you are making it very hard on yourself starting from the top of the key also, not making yourself available or pushing to say, give me the ball here, whatever the aggressiveness and the commanding that you get certain things in positions where it benefits you. Giannis, you don't worry about none of that. You worry about the free throws. And then the defense is going to be there where you were seeing a catastrophe with that. Giannis is throwing all your garbage out. So he would have to play 5. He'd have to play the 5. That's what I would want him to play. I don't want him doing his wing crap that he's been doing. He needs to play the 5. If it would be hard for me not to take him.
Yeah.
It would be very hard not to say, bring this guy in. He's a multiple MVP. Carl doesn't have MVP. He's a multiple MVP winner.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I think in the right package, you'd be crazy not to do it, especially for this coach.
Yes.
Like, this coach would love him to pieces. And mostly because defensively, he is one of the best, if not the best defensive player in the game. So what is there? This coach would forget it. Like, he would literally sign a lifetime contract if the Knicks put it and they had him. He'd be like, yes, whatever. How long is he going to be with us? Make my contract to the end when he's gone, because that's exactly the type of player he loves. So I would have to do it. I'd reluctantly do it because I kind of agree with Joe. Like, this core has a year together now. I feel like there's more with it. I feel like it's a little bit more versatile than it would be with Giannis.
Yeah.
You have to consider it, though. You have to consider it.
Yeah.
Well,
I just don't think we got the horses to get it done either.
I agree with that. Like, I don't see the package at all, but
imagine you had on this team, and that's when, when people wonder about it. You would have Giannis, and if you kept OG, and you kept Hart, say it's Towns, and say it's Mikal Bridges and the young assets. If that, I don't think that'll get it done, but I'm just saying, say that is the package deal that you need to get done. And you push that team out there.
It'd be a skeleton crew, though. That's my fear. It'd be a skeleton.
That's where you'd have to play the bench guys that we have, and they would have to start playing. Like, you'd have no choice.
Yeah.
You'd have to start playing those guys. So,
is he better than Carl, you guys think? I mean, that's really what it comes down
to. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah,
he's absolutely. A better overall player, yes.
Yeah, no question.
Overall, yes. He's not a better offensive player, no. But he's a better overall player, of course.
Yeah.
So that's really the answer. It's like the better talent. And can he play here? Absolutely. I don't.
He has a house here. He lives here. He has his family's here. He has a lot of things going on in New York already. Yeah. So he's
on the internet. He's walking around New York City. It's a great population. He's Nigerian also. Hey, where else you gonna come find that combination other than New York?
Hit the restaurants in Astoria.
That's what I said. Yeah, all the places in Astoria.
I think you have to consider it strongly. I love what Carl has brought to the Knicks. He feels like a New Yorker, obviously.
Well, he is a New Yorker.
Yeah. The whole vibes is there. The team gets along good. I've said I would bench my mama if we can win a ring.
True.
So
I'm a huge Towns guy. I say it all the time, but this would have to be something you do.
And there's been a lot of talk about that trade, but I still feel we won that trade, because when you walk away with the best player in the trade, you won the trade. That's
what would be the question here. Is he the best player in coming back? And the answer is yes.
Then you won that trade.
He's the better player coming back. We'll have plenty of time to discuss that as the time goes on, but I had to bring it up because it was news this week, and we have plenty of time in the future. But we're gonna get out of here now, so you guys and we can all go watch Game 2. Real quick. Do they win? Joe, I know you think. I know you said no.
No, they're gonna keep it close though.
Ty, what do you think?
Hell yeah, we win it.
I love Ty. Ty's always the optimistic one.
No, No way.
I'm with Joe on this. I don't see them winning this game.
After watching what the Cavs did with Indiana last night,
I know that's true.
You can. I mean, who saw any things on their bingo card that you saw Halliburton do?
If they win tonight, we got to do a show. Half hour.
When? After the game?
If they win tonight.
All right. I'm in. See you in 2 hours.
All right, everybody, we're gonna get out of here once again. For Joe and Ty, I'm Eric. You're watching All Nicked Up. Let's go, Knicks.